Lynda Russell has worked for at least one governor, several different executive members of the cabinet. She served at one time as the executive director of the Democratic Party, and we're very fortunate to have her on staff at FEA. I probably will get in trouble for doing this, but Lynda's nickname when I first met her was Bulldog, and I think that will speak for itself in terms of her aggressive way of dealing with politics. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. As long as you're pro-education, you can be Lynda's friend. But we are very pleased that she's going to be here, and I think some of the statistics that we asked her to deliver to us as we get ready to go into the summer is what we need to be thinking about. Without further ado, Lynda Russell, FEA United States.
I don't get to come to Palm Beach very often. You know everybody in the entire state in Beachview wants to be in Palm Beach. You do know that, right? Listen, after the energy and enthusiasm I heard here tonight, if we can just get this pointed, aimed, and ready to fire, we're going to be in great, great shape. Tonight, they asked me to talk to you about a couple of things. Let's see the first slide. And I started thinking about what would be a good theme for this talk tonight. And I said, you know, all over the state, everywhere I go, our school employees tell me and tell all of us, we have had enough. We have had enough. Have you had enough? Have you had enough of this testing madness? Have you had enough of a Board of Education who has the audacity to have almost no educators? There's no one on that board that's ever stood before a classroom, with the exception of one person, tell us that they know everything that needs to go in our classrooms, how the testing needs to be set up, where we need to put the bar, and then when the results don't come back right, they simply move the bar. If a teacher did that, they would be fired immediately. Accountability. Have we had about enough accountability, particularly teacher accountability? What happened to parent accountability, student accountability, legislative accountability, school board accountability, the governor accountability? We don't hear anything about that. All we hear is teacher accountability. Yeah. Have we heard enough about 736? Have we had enough of that? Would you like some more of that? We've had enough, right? I want to give you the opportunity to let off a little frustration, because I heard it earlier and I'm hearing it now. So I want you to think for just a minute of the strongest, most powerful four-letter word you can think of. How much has this group had to drink? Not enough. Knock it off, Lynda. The strongest four-letter word you can think of. You got it? On the count of three, I want you to say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. Now, how many of you were thinking of a different word? How many of you were thinking of a different word? Tell me the truth. That's the word I use to meditate by. They always say that when you meditate, you have to think of one word that brings you comfort. You turn your palms up and you say that word in your head. The word you were thinking of, that's what I use to meditate. So next time you have had about enough, you think of that other word and use it. Vote. Vote, folks. This is the way to release that frustration. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about the 2012 ballot, and frankly the sheer magnitude of the 2012 ballot. There is an enormous amount of critical issues for us on this ballot. We're going to talk about some of the targeted races that have the potential to make a big difference for this profession. And we're going to talk about the importance of turnout and where we have to have turnout. We're going to talk a little bit about how we maximize participation. Let's have the next slide. Actually, let's have the next slide. I already did that one. It's hard to do this with my back to it, but I'm going to give it a try. Everybody knows that Florida is going to be a critical swing state in the 2012 election. There is no question about that. Since 2000, only 3 progressive candidates have won in the state of Florida. 2 of the 3 are back on the ballot this fall. And that is Barack Obama and Bill Nelson. Alex Sink won statewide election when she ran for CFO. She is not on the ballot this time. She was last cycle, but 2 of the 3 are on the ballot this time. Florida is clearly the largest presidential swing state, the largest. California's bigger, they're not a swing state. New York's bigger, it's not a swing state. Texas is bigger, it's not a swing state. Florida is the biggest swing state. 4 years ago, Barack Obama spent $78 million in Florida. He put 530 staff members in this state to win a whopping 51%. That's how razor thin the margins are, even after you spend that much money. And what that means to us is that the support of organizations like this become critically important in making the difference between a win and a loss. If we don't turn out when the margins are that close, we do not win. That is the lesson of the presidential race 4 years ago, Bill Nelson's race before that, last size amendment, last go-round, the United States Senate race, Bill Nelson is up again, even though he's a third term, or going to be a third term, I hope, U.S. Senator. This will be the very toughest race that he has ever fought. So we've got to turn out in that one. We have a full slate of congressional races, including a brand new seat right down here. Legislative races, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. We have 11, count them, 11 constitutional amendments, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But almost every one of those, every one of those constitutional amendments was put on the ballot by the legislature for one reason and one reason only, and that is to pull out ultra-conservative voters and make sure that they turn out en masse in this presidential election. A couple of other big issues. Florida Supreme Court justices, who, by the way, have been our very last stand. That is who is ruling on our retirement suit, who will ultimately rule on the 736 suit, who will ultimately rule on your evaluation suits. The Florida Supreme Court has 2 of our friendliest justices up for retention, and they have been targeted nationally by far-right conservative groups who want to put a stop to what they believe is judicial activism. Now, it's only judicial activism if they don't rule the way that they want them to. But that's another big battle, and one that likely will go unnoticed if our members are not told how important it is to their future.